Hola chicos! Today we'll be doing a repaso on the topic of subject pronouns. This is a repaso instead of a lección because we've seen this topic before. We did this earlier in the year, but since we're going to be getting into conjugating verbs, we need to review our subject pronouns so we know what form we want to conjugate our verbs in. So that is the reason why we're going to be reviewing this topic today. So just to recap, and you may remember this from earlier this year, but subject pronouns are used usually to replace somebody's name. So for example, if I'm talking about my friend Carlos and how he likes to help out around the house, I could say things like Carlos lava los platos, Carlos pasa la aspiradora, Carlos hace la cama, but I'm being very repetitive in saying Carlos's name over and over again. So that's where subject pronouns come in. The subject pronoun, once you've established that we're talking about Carlos, so if I say Carlos lava los platos, from here on out, I could use the subject pronoun él to refer to he, as in Carlos. So he vacuums. Él pasa la aspiradora. Él hace la cama. So here the subject pronoun él replaces Carlos's name. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. Here are our subject pronouns. Now, anytime that we talk about subject pronouns or conjugating verbs, you're going to be looking at a chart very similar to this. And the way the chart is set up is in columns and rows. The columns represent the singular and plural subject pronouns. So the singular column is the column on the left-hand side, and this is what you use when you're talking about one person. So for example, if you're talking about yourself, you are one person. Or if you're talking to only one person, you'd be using the to form. If you're talking about one person, you would either say he or she, which are the él and the ella forms. Or if you're talking to one person formally, that would be usted. But in all of those subject pronouns, you're still only talking to or about one person. Then on the right-hand side, you have the plural side, which is when you're speaking about more than one person. So let's say that you were speaking about yourself, but now you want to add more people to that. For example, if you were to say, my friends and I, now you're speaking about yourself with other people, and you would have to move across to the plural form, talking about more than one person. Or if you were talking to more than one person, you'd be using the ustedes form. Or if you were speaking about more than one person, not including yourself, that would be the ellos or ellas form. So the right-hand column is the plural side when you're speaking about more than one person. Then the chart is also split up into rows. The top row is when you're talking about yourself. So if you're speaking about yourself by yourself, that would be the yo form, singular. But like I said, if you're speaking about yourself with other people, you would move across the chart to the nosotros form, we. The middle column there is talking to someone. If you're talking to one person informally, you're going to use the to form. But if you're talking to more than one person, you're going to move across the chart and you'll find yourself in the ustedes form, to say you all. Finally, the third column is when you're speaking about someone. Here, if you're speaking about one person, if it's a boy, it would be él for he, or ella for she. But if you're speaking about more than one person, you're going to move across to the plural side. Ellos for a group of guys, for more than one male or a mixed group, and ellas if you're talking about just girls. So ellos and ellas are our plural forms, talking about someone. Let's take a look and see what these would look like in a few examples. So using our chart, let's figure out which pronouns you would use to talk to or about the following people. So for example, number 1 says Marcos y yo. Now you have your yo form there, so you're including yourself. So that tells us that we are in the first row. But since it's not just you, it's you and Marcos, you're going to move across to the plural side, the nosotros form. And that's where we get our answer, nosotros. For number 2, using the chart, we have tú y Jorge. The tú tells us we're talking to somebody. So in this case, we're going to be in the middle row. But since we're not just talking to one person, we're saying you and Jorge, we need to move across again to the plural side. And that brings us to ustedes, which is our answer. For number 3, we just see somebody's name here, Anna. And since we are talking about Anna, we're going to use the, we're going to be at that bottom row. Tells us that we're talking about somebody. And since Anna is just one person, we're going to stay in the singular form. She's a girl, so we're going to use the ella form. For number 4, now we have 2 people, Ana y Marcos. We're still talking about someone. So we're still down at that 3rd row, but in this case now we have 2 people, Ana and Marcos. So we're going to move straight across to the plural side, bringing us to ellos. For number 5, mis padres, my parents. Now, so again, you are talking about your parents. You're not talking to them, you're talking about them, so you're still down at that 3rd row. Since it's mis padres, that means plural, talking about both parents. That means you're going to move across to the plural side, and that's where we wind up at ellos again. For number 6, using the chart, mi familia y yo, the yo tells us that we are at that 1st row, talking about ourselves, but we're also talking about ourselves with our family. So that means we need to move across to the plural side, taking us to nosotros. For number 7, tú y tu hermano. The tú tells us that we are in that middle row, so we're talking to somebody, but again, it's not just one person, it's you and your brother, tú y tu hermano. So that will make us move across to the plural side, bringing us to ustedes. And finally, number 8, mis hermanos, tells us that I'm talking about my siblings. These are either my brothers or my brothers and sisters. But the S tells us that it's plural. So we're talking about them, bringing us to our 3rd row. And since it's more than one, those S's tell at the end of the words, mis and hermanos, tell us that is plural. So we'll move across to the plural side, making it ellos. So these are just a few examples on how we translate into subject pronouns. So if you feel that you are comfortable with this topic, you can move on to the Quizlet practice and ultimately the assessment. But if you feel that you don't quite get it just yet, you can try replaying this video or trying the Quizlet again for more help. Adios.